So guys, please subscribe to the channel and please smash the like button on this video. So guys, in this next news story, 3 men have been convicted of conspiracy to murder after a Dubai-based drug dealer put out a £100,000 contract to have a man killed in Birmingham. The intended victim, who was shot several times, miraculously survived the attempt on his life. Following a 3-month trial at Birmingham Crown Court, Craig Miller is 37 of Surrey, Elijah Stokes is 37 of Coventry, and Connor Palmer, who's 37 of London, were found guilty of conspiracy to murder between 14th of April to the 31st of May 2020. Miller was also convicted of another charge of conspiracy to murder. Sentencing has been adjourned to a later date by Mr. Justice Pepperell said all inevitably faced lengthy prison sentences. The prosecutor, Simon Ash, KC, said in 2020 the man who was shot had been involved in the supply of drugs, while a high-level drugs dealer originally from Birmingham but had based himself in Dubai had been involved in the supply of drugs in the West Midlands. He said he had a network of people working for him in the London area, including Miller and Palmer, and that in April 2020, 6 weeks before the shooting, the drug dealer arranged to pay them £100,000 to kill the victim who owed him money. They and another man in turn arranged for someone else to carry out the hit, who was then paid £40,000. Stokes, who was based in Coventry and an associate of the drug dealer in Dubai, arranged for the car and gun to be provided to the would-be assassin. The prosecutor said the victim lived at an address in Sheldon. It's believed the gunman, wearing a black ski mask, a black hat and black gloves, knocked on the front door on May the 29th, 2020. It was opened by the victim's partner, and the gunman then fired 4 shots at the partner who was behind her. He told the court at that stage the victim who was hit crawled back into the living room and the man moved into the house and fired again repeatedly. The gunman, he said, then ran out of the property. The man he shot was hit a number of areas in his body, including his face, left arm and right hand. The injuries he suffered were life-threatening, but he remarkably survived. The prosecutor said that the gunman had never been identified and that the drug dealers had told the 3 London-based associates that he had £500,000 for contract killings he wanted to be carried out. He said that he had 4 jobs. Miller had indicated that he wanted to continue working for the drug dealer who told him he wanted another man to be killed. He named the man and sent Miller a photo of him, but ultimately the killing was not put into effect. So basically how it went down was, in May 2020, the victim's partner opened the door to their home in Sheldon in Birmingham to find a man in a Tesco jacket and wearing a high-vis vest. He asked if she was expecting a delivery and said, "Here, isn't he?" before walking into the house, and that's when he fired at the man. There was a young child also in the house at the time, but was thankfully not injured. So in the weeks after the murder, the high-level dealer told Miller, as I stated, that he wanted to kill another man, and he sent a photo with the caption, "That's him," to which Miller replied, "Clips going in his head." The messages were found on an EncroChat phone belonging to Palmer. As we know, EncroChat was an encrypted global communication service used exclusively by criminals, but an international law enforcement team cracked the company's encryption in 2020, allowing messages between organised crime figures, including those behind the Sheldon shooting, to be read by the police. As I said, they're all going to be sentenced at a later date, and Detective Inspector Gemma Curry said, "The messages we uncovered as part of this investigation make for truly chilling reading and are like something from a movie. It was a miracle that the victim of the shooting in Sheldon survived. It was thanks to the EncroChat breakthrough that we were unable to unravel this conspiracy to murder. The gang thought that they were able to communicate securely about their murderous plans, but thanks to the international law enforcement community, we were able to show exactly what they were planning and how they planned it." So guys, absolute madness. It's a story come from West Midlands ways. And in a news story coming from Wales, a drugs gang have been jailed over a plot to flood the streets of South Wales with cocaine. Jahad Hussain, Tommy Brunnock, Mutaz Yafai, Parvez Uddin and Shahid Kahim were caught trafficking the Class A drug in Newport, Cardiff and Penarth. Some members of the Newport gang were also variously selling ecstasy, ketamine and cannabis before being smashed following a Gwent police investigation. The criminals' growing operation could bring in as much as £1,200 a day and had over 1,000 potential customers thanks to a profitable drugs line. The prosecutor, Nuhu Gorbia, said this is a case involving a police investigation called Operation Bentley into an organised crime group. It was headed by Jahad Hussain, who was using a dedicated drugs line. All the conspirators are from the Newport area and live within close proximity to each other. They were operating a very busy drugs line. A substantial amount of cocaine, ketamine and cannabis was sold, mainly in Cardiff and the Penarth areas. Hussain was a disqualified driver and Yafai would drive him around in expensive vehicles and Yafai would use his own BMW to sell drugs. Hussain, Brunok, Yafai, Udin and Kahim pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply Class A drugs and conspiracy to supply Class B drugs. Udin and Kahim were caught by South Wales police officers in the Roath area of Cardiff last year with more than £20,000 worth of cocaine, ecstasy, ketamine and cannabis in a fake taxi. The duo were jailed for 32 months and 33 months respectively in August 2022 after they admitted drug trafficking offences. Christopher Rees KC for Hussain told Cardiff Crown Court his client was a man of previous good character with no convictions recorded against him. The defence for Brunok said he was a vulnerable and immature young man who became involved after building up £2,500 drug debt. The mitigation for Yaffi is solicitor said the defendant only made a few £1,000s from this. It's not the king's ransom, some may think. He was not a prime mover. The defence for Udin said the defendant was acting under the direction of the owner of the drugs line. He is an intelligent man, he has a degree, and he has a job in fraud analysis. The defence for Kahim said he was at the bottom of this conspiracy. The judge, Lucy Crowther, said this was a large street dealing county lines operation. She said you, Mr. Hussain, were in charge of a lucrative operation and you, Mr. Brunok, provided practical and trusted help to your pal and were involved in operating the drugs line. Mr. Yafai, you were involved in 2 types of Class A drugs and she told Udin and Kahim you were the drivers. So Hussain was jailed for 6 years. Brunok was locked up for 3 years and 8 months and Yafai was sent to prison for 3 years and 4 months. Udin and Kahim will have to serve custodial sentences of 6 months and 5 months respectively on top of their current jail terms, and all defendants are set to face a proceeds of crime hearing in August. And in another news story coming from Lancashire ways, a man who killed his victim by punching him in the face has been jailed. Michael Hannan attacked James O'Hara during a chance encounter in Barrowford on October the 19th, 2021. Hanahan punched Mr. O'Hara so hard he caused fractures to his eye socket and nose and made him fall back and strike his head on a footpath, resulting in further fractures to his skull. Mr. O'Hara was taken to hospital and treated for his injuries and released. However, his condition deteriorated and he sadly died because of acute bacterial meningitis which developed as a direct consequence of the head injuries inflicted on October the 19th. I just want to say rest in peace, Mr. O'Hara, and my condolences go out to your family. He did not know his attacker and was merely walking past Hannan holding a carrier bag containing an LP he had recently bought from a nearby charity shop. Following the assault, Hannan ran off, leaving Mr. O'Hara unconscious on the floor. Less than 2 hours later, he sent a photograph to friends of himself bare-chested, flexing his muscles. He sent other messages boasting of what he had done. Michael Hanahan of Blackburn admitted manslaughter on the first day of his trial at Preston Crown Court, and he was sentenced today to 5 years and 4 months. Detective Chief Inspector Mark Howarth Oates of the Force Major Investigation Team said, "My thoughts today are first and foremost with the family of the loved ones of James O'Hara. They have lost a family member and friend as a result of a needless, unprovoked and vicious assault. James O'Hara posed no threat whatsoever to Michael Hannan, who punched him with such force that he inflicted the injuries that would sadly lead to his death. He then went on to disgracefully revel in what he had done and showed no remorse by showing his muscles to his mates." In a statement, Mr. O'Hara's family said, Tuesday, 19th of October 2021 was the day that a single act of violence by Michael Hannan devastated the lives of our whole family. Today he was sentenced to 5 years in prison, which gives us some sort of closure, but we will forever be broken-hearted at the cruel and needless way we lost James. We'd like to thank the police team for their tireless work over the past 18 months in bringing this case to court. Thank you to all the friends and family whose love and support us and have helped us through our darkest days. One thing we can hold on is to that Jay will never be forgotten because he left us so much to remember. We will carry those memories in our hearts forever. once again, I just want to say rest in peace, Mr. O'Hara, and my condolences go out to your family. So, guys, here's a number of stories coming from the streets of the UK. It's your boy GC. Keep it locked, keep it real.